Just a couple more examples. This was one, we had gotten this model from our friends SAI in Dallas, Texas. They had provided us with a conventional survey from a total station and asked us to construct this bus for a case they were working on. And detailed modeling is one of the things we enjoy. And they also gave us photographs. Well, it would have been so much better to use a 3D scan because, I mean, they wanted this level of detail. They wanted to know the rivets. They wanted the curvature of the mirrors. And all of these objects were, it was a bit of a challenge to do it from just a conventional survey. So my opinion is if somebody gives me a point cloud of an object that they want modeled, it's just that much, we're going to be able to make it that much more accurate. There is no filling in the blanks. This particular case, actually this was the one I was talking about for the line of sight. So the accident reconstructionist had given us the tree locations, the tree diameters, and as well as the pole locations. And we filled in where the power lines were, everything based on photographs. I know that the animators on the other side, I should say the accident reconstruction company, actually had this in a 3D laser scan, but their client opted not to have them pursue doing anything with it. This particular case is using HVE simulation. The accident reconstructionist we worked with on this was a man by the name of Klein Young, a PhD out of Dallas, Texas. A very competent young man. Obviously, our writers are not human. These are representative. But the usefulness of a scan in this particular case would have told us exactly how tall the trees were, where the trunks of the trees were. We had general placement of the houses, but a scan obviously would have depicted that, even down to the fence posts. This case, this was a bit of a challenge. This was a nighttime case where a reconstructionist by the name of, I'm sorry, it escapes me, I'll think of it in a minute, bright young man from South Georgia, went out and we mapped 3.5 miles of Interstate 20 east of Atlanta for this particular case. And as well as the scan or survey was done, there were still objects that had to be placed based on photographs as best we could place them. And now they were all validated by the accident reconstructionist, or they were deemed to be maybe superfluous in nature. But either way, it would have definitely helped to have had a scan. Now, 3.5 miles is quite an expanse to try to do with any kind of equipment, let alone a 3D laser scanner, but it definitely would have helped. In this particular case, nighttime realism is quite difficult to do. This particular case, there was a rear-ending of a logging truck, and it was pretty horrific. And this case was again built without scan data. It was done strictly with a conventional site survey. And in this, there was a long decline here, a long hill. And so the survey points that we had were probably 300 or 400 feet apart. So that means all of these extra details, all this extraneous items, the ditch lines, everything, we have to do from a photograph if there's not a data point there. And this one in particular, this is a case that I worked on. The accident reconstructionist was a young man by the name of Bob Autry. And this particular case is a logging truck case, and he actually had to go back out and shoot the scene. I think he had to shoot the scene a total of 3 times. The attorney in the case requested more data points. In this particular case, you can see as this truck is losing control and these logs are flying, we needed more data as to, from this ditch area that, and even with as detailed a site survey as they could do, it was still difficult to get the topography to be the same, whereas if we would have had a 3D laser scanner, we would have been done in no time at all, and the detail would have been amazing, even down to the location of the culverts. So I guess to say that I've become a huge fan of 3D laser scanning is probably an understatement. I probably have some more I could show you, but I think you get the idea. I'm pretty much on board with using a 3D laser scanner. And so this is just talking about the software that we use and how we use 3D Studio Max and some of the post-processing. Hardware, I think this is kind of important. I'm afraid that the days of being able to use your 32-bit laptop to process some of these cases may be over. Now, I'm a self-avowed hardware junkie. The computer that I'm using to run this presentation is a 12-core machine with 60 gigabytes of RAM and a GTX 593 gigabyte video card. So just to put that into perspective, I don't expect everybody is going to want or need to make that kind of commitment, but you need to be prepared for it. You want a workstation or a higher-end desktop, laptop, notebook. There are some very good, high-powered notebooks that you can purchase now that will work just fine. 64-bit operating system. I just can't tell you enough how important that is. I'm not a big fan of Windows Vista, but Windows 7 has been very stable, and particularly in a 64-bit format, works very well. 8 gigabytes of RAM, or as much as you can afford to put in. You may end up adding it later if you don't put that much in. You need a 64-bit operating system to handle that much RAM. At least a 1 gigabyte dedicated video card and a high-quality monitor. Monitors at this point are very inexpensive. You can buy a decent-sized monitor for less than $300 US, so it just saves on the eye strain. I'm not going to tell you what kind of monitors I use. Multiple monitors. If your video card supports it, multiple monitors just make your life so much easier. So that's it, basically. Feel free to contact me offline. That's my contact information, my phone number. Feel free to call. I'll answer any questions you have as best I can. No sales pitch. I'm a horrible salesman. So that's it. Have a good day.